This is it. We are starting the podcast right now. So, Colleen, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Steve.
And you write for LMBPN under the name CM Simpson.
Yes.
And we were talking before we started doing this about some other names that you write on, and we're not going to get into what some of those other names are, but you were talking about some of these other things that you wrote when you were just starting to write, and I think you were alluding to something. What were you alluding to?
Well, it's just I like writing, so it's like if I see it, I'll give it a poke and see if it works and see if I can. It's like, oh, that's a new form of writing. What does that look like if I try and stick it on the paper?
You have written,
and then occasionally go, oh.
You've written a lot of books over
Yeah.
I don't know what period of time, but you have a lot of titles.
I do, yeah. My writing, trying to write for publishing, goes back probably to 1991, where I said, okay, you know what? I've been dabbling in this for a bit, so I might sit down and actually, submit something. I chose a pretty bad time, apparently, because 1991 was where all sorts of changes were happening in the industry and things were crashing and markets were shrinking and stuff. So that was interesting. So it got very hard when you submitted a lot of stuff. A lot of markets closed their doors and said, no, we're looking for new work, but don't send us unsolicited manuscripts. It's like, okay, and don't send us unsolicited query letters either. Right. Fine. Whatever.
Yeah,
I wrote the books anyway.
Yes, the good old days when you had to gain permission to be able to get someone to look at your book to decide whether or not they might publish it.
And you had to schmooze. You had to schmooze. You had to meet the editors in order to be given permission to send them stuff. And well, there's not a lot of schmooze in Australia. There's not a lot of opportunity for that. I mean, we had the occasional conventions and whatnot, but if you couldn't get there, it's a pretty big country.
So what time is it for you? You're in Australia. I'm in Naples, Florida. What time is it for you?
Right now?
Yes.
Right now it is 11:17, according to my computer clock.
In
the morning.
In the morning, and it's 9:17 at night. So you see, like, there's light behind me, but that's it because it's dark and I have lights on, and I see looks like bright sunshine streaming into your place.
No. Well, it's bright considering it's coming through a layer of cloud and it's really cold outside. And by really cold, it's probably about 5 or 6 degrees Celsius.
You have a jacket? You have,
like
3
jackets.
layers on. Yeah, like 3 layers on.
4.
So this is winter in Australia.
Yep.
All right.
And you Northern Hemispherians can laugh.
Yes, we
because
can.
You're probably thinking it's not that cold.
And there are some parts of the country where it's just so hot right now that people are envious, knowing that it's cold somewhere. So we need to talk about your books because this is behind the fiction. We should be getting behind the fiction. So
yes.
we are here talking about your series, and I love the name of this series, The Magic Below Paris. How did you guys, you and Michael, come up with that as a series title?
Well, it's under Paris and there's magic that's happening. And it was that simple.
Okay, now I feel less than brilliant.
I'm sorry, no, well, it's a good question because it's like why magic and why under Paris? But I was stuck and I went just straight for the very direct explanation of the series. I couldn't think of anything that said it better.
But it sounds enchanting. The magic below Paris. It's enchanting. The name sounds enchanting. The covers are great.
Tell us really good cover artist.
Tell us sort of the genesis of the storyline for the series.
Okay, so when I looked at writing for the Age of Magic, I didn't know where to set the series. There was Australia, but that was taken. There were some places in the US that looked really interesting, but then I looked over at Europe and I thought, well, there's a space right there, and I've always been kind of attracted to the underground of Paris. You hear about the catacombs, you hear about the cave paintings there, the burials there, but when I really started to dig into it, what I found was there's more than that. There's, apart from the extensive metro, There are old mines where they used to mine. It's a white material, and I forget its name. Sorry, but anyway, there are a bunch of mines. There were castles. It's got everything. Paris is magical all by itself, and then you go under it and you get caves, and caves have their own kind of magic. So that's really where I came up with that concept and idea. So I said to Amy, well, what about, how do you feel, will this work? I think I gave her 3 different alternates. I said, I've got this idea for this area, or we can do one underground, or we could do one here. And I just kind of started there.
And Amy is your country mate, Amy Hopkins,
yes,
who also writes in the Age of Magic.
Yes. Yeah, she writes with the Mind Mages in north of Arcadia. See, now my mind is going blank for names. We're lost. It's all in the map in my head.
It is. So, I mean, let's talk about the Age of Magic. You mentioned the Age of Magic. There are going to be some people who listen to this podcast who don't have any idea what we're talking about. So what is the Age of Magic?
The Age of Magic is the age that happened after the Age of Madness, which is what happened after the world's worst day ever, which is what happened after Bethany Ann left Earth.
Okay, so this is all in the Kurtherian Gambit universe created by Michael Anderle, and it all started with Bethany Ann. There's this series of 21 books where Bethany Ann starts on Earth, goes to space, I think, in book 8, and is still out there.
She abandoned us. She left us behind. It was rude.
Which led to the Age of Madness and then the Age of Magic.
Yes.
And so that's where you're writing. There are several other books by other authors in the Age of Magic. Yours is the newest series. It's doing pretty well. Are you excited with the response of the fans to the series?
Yes, stunned. It's like, oh, they like it. Cool. And then I look at the next book and go, oh my goodness, can I do as well in the next one?
Are you a naturally fast writer?
I don't know. I just write. I write about 1,000 words an hour.
I would put that in the naturally fast category.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're not intimidated when you publish the first book and 4 hours later you're getting the messages that say, when's the next book coming out?
Oh, no, I'm intimidated. It's like, oh, my God, I can't do it any quicker than. Always. And it's like, and if I do it really quick, can I do it just as well as I did last time, which I did just as quick? But still, you never take it for granted.
Now, when you were building out the series in your mind, how far out did you plan?
I planned 9 books on a skeletal outline for each book, and I did fully fleshed outlines for the first 3, and semi-fleshed for the next 2 or 3.
Okay. The first 4 came out pretty quickly, and then there was a little break between the 5th book, which just came out last week, I think.
Last week,
and
on the 3rd.
The title of that is Trading by Shroomlight. Let's walk through them. The first book in the series, if you haven't read any of them, is Trading into Shadow. So that's the place to get started. Then there's Trading into Darkness, Trading Close to Light, Trading by Firelight, and then Trading by Shroomlight. And I have to ask, what the heck is a Shroomlight?
Well, mushrooms glow, right?
Not in my experience. They don't glow.
Some of them glow. There's some very pretty shrooms that glow. But anyway, they have to do that to glow.
Okay.
Right, and the mushrooms in the caverns under Paris tend to glow a lot.
Okay.
So shroomlight is the bioluminescence of the mushrooms.
Okay. All right. Now, I interrupted your earlier flow when we were talking about the series, the way you did the in-depth outlines for the first 3, and those books kind of came out, I think, 2 weeks apart. Boom, boom, boom. The 4th book, I think, was maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, and then you took some time off to write some other things, do some other things.
Yeah. pretty much.
And now you're picking it back up again. So what was the impetus for saying, "Hey, I want to start doing this again. I want to get back to these characters"?
Well, I hadn't finished.
Well, you hadn't finished when you stopped writing the first time. When you stopped writing these books the first time.
This is true. And I had another project come up in the middle, and then it's like, oh wait, I've still got these to go. So I figured I better get them done.
You better. I better.
Right. Otherwise, I might get lynched. Yeah.
And that's a good sign when people are going to want to lynch you for not writing fast enough. Tell us about your main character, Marsh.
Marsh, she's an orphan. She was raised by her uncle and his family in not Hawk's Ledge. That's the. See, I told you I was going to forget names. In the ledge, up in Karenan's Ledge, which is one of the surface settlements where everything started. So she was raised by her uncle in his way station up there, which is why we get into the trading aspect of things. But she didn't want to be a way station owner, so she decided to start running errands for a local trader, who is not in the books at the moment.
So a little preview.
Yeah, well, in book 4, he shows his true colours, and they come to a parting of ways.
Okay.
So yeah, but so she ran errands for him in the hope that she could follow her true passion, which was to explore the ruins under Parish itself and to discover whatever there was to be discovered. That's her passion. Unfortunately, she kind of got suckered into this war, and that has had to be put aside for the moment.
The passion has been put aside because of the war?
Oh no, the passion is still there, but the ability to pursue the passion has been put aside. So yeah. So you can't go hunting in ruins while people are destroying your caverns. That's just not on.
Yes. So we are in the middle of the battle, the prolonged battle, I guess is what you're saying, the war. And how is she developing as a character through the books? Are you one of those authors who actually thinks through a character arc in addition to just like the whole storyline?
I generally have a vague idea of where I want them to end up.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't, but generally I do. So with Marsh, actually I don't really know what she's going to do after she deals with everything. That's okay. She'll have it worked out eventually. Things change. I think she's still going to want to explore those caverns unless something else comes up in the meantime.
Now, I'm really curious, but the phraseology you're using here, I think she may want to do this. Is this the way this works for you? Is this your process where the characters just kind of become alive in your mind and start telling you where the story is going?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I don't... Outlining is not something I tend to do. Okay, my idea of an outline for a trilogy, one of the trilogies I wrote was 3 lines. Okay, 3 lines.
I can see why why publishers back in 1991 were not thrilled with your queries.
Oh no, my queries were longer because I wrote them after I'd written the books.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah. So Marsh is alive in your mind right now, sort of directing book 6 since you've already published book 5.
Yes. Yeah, so basically with book 6, I actually am doing an outline. Don't die of shock.
How many lines? Over under 10.
It'll actually be over 10 because we're coming into the end of the series now. So I've discovered with writing series that as you get closer to the end of them, you've got to actually make sure you know what threads you've got. And then you've got to say, I need to end this thread here or here or here and plan that all out. So it gets easier to write an outline after you've written about the first 3 or 4 books.
Okay. All right. I got you. And the whole idea, I've talked to other people who, when you're closing out a series, it's like there are all these threads and you've got like 3 chapters left and, oh my gosh, how do I close all these things out? It sounds like you're going to be a little bit more graceful.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't leave it till 3 chapters. You couldn't fit it all in. It's just too many. I mean, you've got Gustave. We've still got to catch up with her ex-employer. Then there's the arc with Roglin, and then of course you've got Henry and Izzy. Those two are going to want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Probably something Marsh won't like, knowing them. And then you've got the caverns themselves. You've got the two kids. They're going to they're going to have a say in whatever Marsh does. And trust me, when I sat down to write this series, she didn't have sidekicks.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't. I hadn't planned on her grabbing two kids and rescuing them and then being stuck with them the whole series. I was just going to dump them in the first book. Apparently that was not what was planned.
That was not Marsh's
by the characters.
Plan?
Yeah. No, and neither Tamlin or Aisha were going to put up with that either. So, well, I mean, you know those three. You wouldn't tangle with them.
No. I wouldn't tangle with any character in any age of the Grutherian Gambit because they're all tougher than I am.
Yeah, pretty much. So you kind of, it's writing process is following what they're doing in the story. And that just kind of appears like an unrolling movie in your head. Mm-hmm. So you kind of know where you're going, but occasionally a scene crops up that you're like, hang on a tick, what? And then you write it, and it goes, oh, okay, I see where you came with that. But, yeah.
Interesting. All right, so Colleen Simpson, thank you for being here. The latest book is Trading by Shroomlight, but if you haven't read the first 4 books in the series, please go back and read Trading into Shadow and work your way through it that way. They're all available at Amazon and available through Kindle Unlimited. Colleen, where can people catch up with you online?
They can find me on Facebook. They can find me on Twitter. And I have a blog.
Okay, and we will post links to those in the show notes. Thank you guys very much for listening. We will be back in your ear shortly with some more great books.